back to the Knife Box channel. Or, if this is your first time, welcome. Meet the blade. In today's selection, I'm going to be discussing the Slysz Bowie from Spyderco Knives, specifically the new revival from the ever so popular and growing online knife store by the name of Knifejoy. It's a comfortable and durable design. It's manufactured by Spyderco Knives in the good old Taichung plant. The design comes from a Polish custom knife maker by the name of Marcin Slysz. Since the recent revival of this knife, I can't think of one person other than myself describing this knife as hype. Well, let me explain this further, because if your ears are perking up, I will explain in the first place why this knife is not hype at all. But before we get into that, let's meet the maker. Meet the makers. So there's three important parties that make this project a reality. Let's start off by the designer, Marcin Slysz. Marcin is a custom knife maker from Poland, and I've been following him for years. Although I don't own any of his beautiful customs, I aspire to one day. I've owned a few of his Spyderco designs though, and quite a few of them have been very popular and very successful. Just to name a few, the Techno, which is based on a custom mouse, or the Techno 2, which is also a thing. Then there's the Spidey Chef, and the knife that I own, of course, the Slysz Bowie. The next part of this partnership is Spyderco Knives, and this partnership has been going on for a few years, and it's gone through a few designs. Spyderco Knives really needs no introduction. It's founded by Sal Glasner, a great innovator in the knife industry, and a name that is destined for the knife history books. Then last but of course not least, there's the knife retailer Knifejoy. I really couldn't say enough good things about Chris and all of the Knifejoy group. It's a top list of my place to do business with. My experience with Knifejoy goes back many years, and let's give a big thanks for reviving a classic. And I did hear an announcement that more will be coming next year. So how does it cut? As the name describes, it borders on the line of a classic drop point with a slight hint of wanting to be a clip point. The Bowie style profile does have a nice, pronounced, and useful tip. Now, the original featured a really nice mirror stonewash CTS XHP blade. This new version features a machine belt satin finish M390 blade. Not preferable to the original, but it's still cool and good at hiding wear. The M390 is a good choice due to its wear resistance and its corrosion resistance. The choil on this is also really nice. And let's not forget to mention the full flat grind. That's one of the biggest attributes to this knife. The blade stock is thin, and this one is really nicely crowned. The jimping feels subtle, and I find the knife really easy to index. The blade is a really nice size, and it's kind of a sweet spot for me. If this is to be my one and only knife, I would be totally okay with that, just in this size. The edge is decent, but honestly, for long-term use, I think a KME edge would do this thing some good. But otherwise, it does cut real well out of the box with this Bowler's M390. Usually, if M390 is ran around 62 HRC, it performs quite well. But let's be truthful, if it's not heat treated properly, then you're probably expected to get VG10 performance. Spyderco, though, is well known for doing their part in trying to do a really good job with their heat treats, and they do have experience with a lot of different steels. So I wouldn't doubt that this M390 is good stuff. So how does it carry? The Bowie actually carries very well. Let's start off with the clip. This kudos really should go to Spyderco, as this part of the knife design really belongs to them. The reversible wire pocket clip has been part of the Spyderco lineup for many years in many different designs, and it's been described as a love or hate thing. Personally, it kind of goes either way for me. It looks kind of plain, but it works quite well and hides wear very well as well. I think it's always going to remain kind of a love-hate thing, to tell you the truth. Next contributing factor to how well it carries is the weight. Now, I wouldn't consider this a flyweight in the knife world by any means, but considering the construction, they've kept the titanium scales thin enough and nicely contoured, and this keeps the knife slim in the pocket, but still feels substantial enough for most situations. Deployment in and out of the pocket couldn't be any easier. So, how does it open and close? Well, I like the way this knife deploys in the traditional sense, the Spidey hole method, or aka the thumb hole. One of the other favorable attributes of this opening hole has been dubbed the Spidey flick, which uses the middle finger or index or even your pinky or toe if you're gifted enough to flick the knife open from the backside. However, in this knife, this hole in particular is blocked by the lock bar, and you're still able to manage to stick a little bit of your finger in there to break the detent, and with a little bit of wrist flick, warning, this is not good for the stop pin, you can still manage to break this thing open. Overall, the deployment is great. I just wish that the Spidey hole was just a little bit easier to access from the backside. That's what she said.
That's what she said. That's what she said. That's what she said.
I find it interesting that the clip is reversible for lefties, but that the Spidey hole doesn't actually accommodate for lefties. So I kind of consider this a right-handed only knife, regardless of the reversible pocket clip. How is the fitment and finish of this knife? In all honesty, I'm really pleased with the fitment of this knife. I couldn't find any defects or uneven gaps or burrs anywhere. The contouring looks really nice and makes the knife handle super comfortable and easy to index. The handle has a nice shape to it, which kind of has a resemblance of a guard on a Bowie fixed blade. Despite that, the handle does still feel neutral in the hand and works in most grip, an attribute not commonly found in production knives. The finish is awesome. I love the blue anodization, and I notice the shades change immediately when I put my finger oils on it. Now, some of you may be turned on or turned off by that. Personally, I don't mind it. So, what are my wrap-up thoughts on this Spyderco Slysz Bowie? Well, first of all, it's not hype at all. It's good. It's damn good. Don't think like the sheep and follow the crowd. Just get one in your hand and let it be what it is to you. $400, though, I do kind of agree is a bit steep for this knife considering its attributes. The way to even this price range out, I think, would have been to add a hand rub satin finish, and I hope Chris takes the hand rub satin finish idea into account for the next run next year. Now, as far as the secondary price, let's just face it, we live in America, and capitalism is not illegal. Hell, I even ended up paying $500 for mine because I missed the drop. But in the end, it's really up to you what you want to pay for it. In my eyes, I kind of agree with Nick Shabazz.
Nick, I found the Slysz Bowie online for $420. Should I do it? Or I found one for $500. Wow, I found the Slysz Bowie for $600. It's new in box. Should I do it? And my answer is no. Hell no. Absolutely freaking not.
It's not a $700 knife, guys. But anyways, let's do a tabletop wrap-up. So welcome back to the Knife Box channel tabletop portion wrap-up of this video. So we're going to wrap up thoughts on the Spyderco Slysz Bowie as I have my morning coffee. So I think overall it's an excellent knife. Guys, don't go out there and break the bank to get one. But overall, it's kind of like in that perfect size and thickness and carry for me. I don't think it's as fidget friendly as most people would prefer it to be. And you could probably do maybe like a little half cut here, but I don't know aesthetically how much sense that would make, or comfort wise for that matter. I don't know, maybe not. So anyways, let's do some size comparisons real quick while we check out this knife here. So I brought it out to another one of my favorite EDC carries, the Shirogorov Neon Zero, which I think is an outstanding little EDC knife. Something you guys are familiar with, the ZT-0450. This is just a fancier version, but overall it's the exact same dimensions. Let me see here. Something that might surprise you. Here it is next to a Spyderco Delica. Not a whole lot bigger, but bigger nonetheless. Just for some fun here, here's an old school Benchmade MPR or mini pocket rocket. And last but not least, something else that I find in a really nice EDC kind of carry size, the Holt Spectre. So you can see kind of how it sizes up. And in all essence, it's really not exactly as big as it looks in the picture, for me anyways. So that kind of gives you more of a rough idea where it sits at. So overall, I don't think it's a hype knife by any means. I think it's an excellent knife. And at its time, it was really quite great when it first came out. Unfortunately, due to the popularity and the way that the crowds and such have made this knife out to be, it's become kind of an ugly thing just because of the fans and the way that they want to resell these at the secondary market of 200, 300, 5,000% or whatever you might find. So I don't know, guys. Overall, you know, get one of these in your hand and you decide if you want one of these in your collection. Personally, this is going to stay with me. I just hope again in the next run that they decide to do a hand rub satin finish. This satin finish, this belt machine satin finish that they have on this one is fine. It's very nice. It will, you know, stand up to wear just fine, but it just doesn't hold up to the original kind of partially mirror stonewash finish of the original one. So just not quite as pretty of a blade, and that's kind of the business end of the whole thing if you ask me. So that's just my suggestion for the next one. Anyways, hope you guys like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the bell notification, you know, all that stuff you guys know how to do. And we'll catch you guys all on the next one.